What's up, guys? Mike here with Cutting Edge Tactics and Training. Today's video is going to be a little bit more of me just rambling on some of the reflections I've had when it comes to rifle shooting, different rifle setups, things of that nature. So if that's not really your cup of tea, that's okay. You guys can click on a different video. But I just wanted to share my experience, particularly when it came to red dot risers on a rifle setup. So some backstory. My first experience shooting rifles was in the Marine Corps. I didn't grow up shooting. So when I joined the Marine Corps, I first got trained on rifle marksmanship at Camp Pendleton when I was going through boot camp down in San Diego, which is where real Marines are made. Sorry to all y'all who went to Paris Island. And then at School of Infantry, and eventually my home unit, 3rd Battalion, 7th Marines out in 29 Palms. So when I got out of the Marine Corps, I went really quickly into pistol shooting because I started doing private security. When I started my own business, concealed carry is a big thing. People carry all the time. So I spent a lot of time more on handgun than rifle because the handgun was still a newer skill to me and a newer tool. I did maintain rifle shooting, but it hasn't been until probably this last year that I really started to go back and try to advance that particular skill set in my arsenal. So with that, one of the things that I had been trying over the last about 2 years was using a Unity riser on this Vortex holographic. And I know I have made videos talking about it and saying, hey, it's a good piece of equipment and there's some benefits to it. That's true. Over the past couple of weeks, I've been going back and forth and just trying without the riser and with the riser. And really what I've noticed is that I am a better, faster shot without the riser. And I think there's a couple of reasons for that. One, cheek weld. When I got out of the Marine Corps, I wanted, and I started doing the rifle stuff, especially this last year, I really wanted to see what other opinions are out there, what other training is being done, what other skill sets or ways things people are shooting. And with the riser, you don't get a cheek weld traditionally like you would right here. Instead, you get more of a chin weld because the optic is higher. And for CQB shooting, basically anything 50 yards and in, it was fine. And even out to 100, 150, I was still doing okay. But it just, I wasn't getting enough consistency on the accuracy, at least where I want it to be. And it was taking me a little bit faster to have that dot return to zero. And I think part of it was there's just a lot going on in the rifle. And if I can mitigate that to a degree, I want that. I also think the cheek weld gives you more consistency on where your rifle is. So for instance, one thing I've noticed with students and even myself, when you have the riser, is for some reason, I don't know what this is, I'm still processing through it, instead of getting a good buttstock position where the buttstock is in the shoulder pocket, you kind of start doing this where it comes up a little bit. And I don't know exactly what that is yet. I'm still trying to figure out why, because the optic's higher, so you would think you could actually sink that thing deeper in, but we don't. So if your buttstock is not pressed into that shoulder pocket, there's going to be more wiggle room for the gun. When I took the riser off, I stopped having that problem. What I also noticed with the riser is it masked some of my own deficiencies as a shooter. So for instance, snapping up from like a low ready or a high ready position, it felt faster with the riser because the dot is boom right there. And really that was just a skill I hadn't yet fully mastered. And so when I got rid of the riser and I started doing it without it, I noticed that when I come up, even having to drop my head a little bit to get into that proper cheek weld really didn't take a lot of time. It really wasn't that annoying, even with full kit. And so I was like, okay, this makes sense. That was just me being deficient at a skill and the riser kind of masking it. The same way you can give some people a very high-end gun, and if it has a super nice trigger and it runs really well, they may think they're a better shot, but then you give them something like a Taurus and they kind of suck. Well, we should be proficient with our skills regardless of the handgun. Obviously, it's going to make some difference, but hopefully my point is made. So one thing that my first commanding officer in the Marine Corps always yelled at us was brilliance in the basics. He always wanted us to be brilliant in the basics. And I think that is something that, as reflecting on, you know, the last year or two of using the riser and now taking it off, I realized I wasn't fully brilliant in the basics, and I had skipped some of those fundamental skills and not fully mastered them, which is why now having it off, it feels like I'm doing better. So these are just some of my reflections. I think there are pros to the riser. When you're in the prone position, the riser is nice because then you're not having to get super, super low on the ground. But when I was shooting from a covered position or using some sort of barricade, it actually was a little bit more awkward and hard. So, oh, camera's falling here. A little windy out here in Wyoming. Anyways, I think there are some benefits to the riser. I would no longer say I would put it on like a it hits the fan, duty grade, general purpose rifle or anything like that. So those are kind of just my reflections on this thing, guys. The whole point of this is really just to say, always be a student, always be trying to learn stuff, always be trying to see where your skill level is, you know, test out different things. Part of what I like to do as an instructor is test out different equipment that's out there, see the different trends going on, and make my own opinion about them. But if you don't have those core skills down, some of the stuff just ain't going to help you, and it may actually hinder you in some sense. So those are just my ramblings. If you guys found this useful video, sweet. If you didn't, or if you think my shooting sucks because I'm not good with the riser or anything like that, I imagine I'll hear about it in the comments, and some of you guys like to do that stuff. I've seen it on the other videos. That's totally fine. Anyways, hope you guys have a good day. Stay safe out there.